Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are just getting started here, and so we are glad you could join us wherever you are in the world. We had folks from Europe, from Canada, and from the US signed up, so welcome to all. I know some will be watching as well the recording of this, and so to all, we are glad you could join us here today. We are presenting on how to internationalize your place marketing. And so we will go through a framework that we have of the Abroad framework. Um, so 7 key action items to really help with taking your message and scaling your message globally. And I have a special guest with me here as well, which we'll get to introductions very quickly. We are going to move quite fast, so we're going to do a short introduction. We are then going to jump right in. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to drop those into the Q&A section, and we will try to answer them either along the way or depending on the complexity of the questions certainly at the end as well. So again, thank you for joining us. We have 2 folks here, myself, I'm Steve Duncan, the Managing Director of C Studios. We are based in the Netherlands and work in the area of FDI marketing as well as global talent attraction. And I'm joined by a client slash colleague of mine in the industry here, Madison Reiley. Madison, do you want to just say a quick word about your background?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm Madison Reiley, and I'm the marketing manager at the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. We are the primary state EDO, and I've been here for nearly 5 years. And my primary role is social media. So I am creating awareness about Virginia as a premier business location on primarily LinkedIn.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, and so C Studios and Virginia had worked together in the run-up to Select USA. We had done a special campaign for the US's largest FDI event of the year, where companies that are interested in the US travel to DC. And so we're going to share some learnings from that experience. As well as some other experiences that we've had over the years in working with clients. And so let's just jump right in. So step 1 is an easy one. This one is to basically just audit your marketing materials, your website, your social media channels, just to make sure that you are speaking with that global message. And so one of the key learnings really, and one of the takeaways from what we do every day in working with clients is this curse of knowledge. If you're not familiar with the term, it is the more you know about a particular topic, the harder it is to remember what you didn't know before you learned so much about that topic. And so we are so passionate about the places that we represent. We're so passionate about place marketing. Sometimes we lose track of what it's like to think about our place when we may not have ever heard it before. And so this is really important to get that outside perspective, and an audit is a great way to do so. Just some high impact areas to consider as a part of this when you are doing an audit is it clear where you are? This seems like one of the most simple things out there, but it's amazing to us, how many times there isn't a map on a website, or you don't have some sort of indicator as to where you are in the world, in your region. If you're in the US, where are you in the US? If you're in Europe, where are you in Europe? It's not always clear when you're dealing with international audiences. And similarly, what makes you stand out? What is your region's distinction? That is really important to put out there, and put out there very quickly when you are providing some sort of marketing material to somebody or on your website. Auditing for local references, terminology. Not everyone knows what a county is in the US, or a canton in Switzerland, for example. So making sure that you're being very clear and concise with how you're describing this to your international audience. A lot of times we see organizations selling themselves and not the place. The organization message should really be second. People are coming to you typically because they want to know about your place and what makes it unique. So the organizational message is a supporting one, not necessarily the primary. And then, this is really interesting. And actually, Madison, I would love your thoughts on this, because I know it came up in our discussions that sometimes you feel like a broken record, and so you just try to go to the next message. But not everyone from abroad has heard you say that broken record message. I remember, Madison, with Lego, there were concerns that you were talking about the Lego project coming to Virginia a little too much. And it's like, actually, it's a great international project. And so I'm just maybe just a quick comment from you on that in terms of making sure you're not forgetting, like, people from the outside don't always hear that messaging all the time. And it's really important to know what your key message is.
Yeah, for sure. So we at VDP have 4 FDI offices, one in Germany, Japan, Taiwan, and Japan. No, Korea, sorry. And so we brought in our VP of FDI, Anja Amshoff. We brought her in early during the planning phase, and she was a huge help to help us determine our messaging. We learned that FDI companies like case studies and to see ecosystems or what other companies have found success in Virginia. So we leaned heavily into those case studies like Lego. And then we also, I think it's important to remember that FDI is not some different marketing plan. It's all part of the same marketing plan because we have the same goals of trying to bring businesses to Virginia. So it's really important that we brought her team in early.
Yeah. And that's one of the pieces of information here is just ask somebody from the outside for help. And sometimes that is your international offices who aren't into the day to day as much as you are all the time. But yeah, asking somebody for help is really critical. There was a question, can you expand a bit on selling your organization versus place? It's a great question. People are coming to your website, or they are often meeting you at a booth at a trade show because they are interested in potentially investing in your region. They want to know what the place offers. They want to know what companies are there, as Madison said. What the taxes look like, what your workforce looks like, things like that. That's the first layer that they are really trying to understand. Then they want to know, how can your organization help? What services do you provide? The fact that you provide no cost services and things like that. So just making sure, sometimes we see the message about the organization really being at that front end, and it almost distracts from what you're trying to sell, which is place at the end of the day. So I hope that is helpful. All right, moving on. So broadening the message is next. And I think a key learning here is, if your message isn't scalable, neither is your success. And what we see a lot of times is a new brand launch happens, and there's been a lot of emphasis on creativity. And what happens is, it works well for your local region or maybe for your own country, but when you try to take that globally, the play on words is really difficult to understand for other for other regions, for other cultures. And so I think Europe actually does a really good job of this, where sometimes it can almost come off as a bit bland, but at the end of the day, there was this one community, I think it's in the Netherlands, that went with European City of Science was their campaign. And it's like, that is so straightforward, but it's so crystal clear, and it scales globally. So you can debate creativity versus being pragmatic, and we want to stand out. We want to have an emotional message, but sometimes when we are working with international audiences, we really want to focus on being crystal clear and scaling that message. So just some high impact actions to think about within this framework. Keep the message simple, as we said. Simplicity works across cultures. Source your data, making sure you're always providing reputable sources, especially some US locations don't put as much time and effort into this, just to be honest. but we work really hard to counsel our clients to do so. And this is really important for companies from Europe, from Asia, where that those sources carry as much weight as the actual data point itself sometimes. Utilize translation tools. There are a lot out there that can help automate and still allow you to edit. So it gets you to translate your website a little bit more quickly. Showcase your credentials, any organizations that you're a part of that would add credibility to your message, different chambers of commerce that you work with. These sorts of trust signals really are important for international audiences, just to make sure that you're a legitimate organization. And so here's a sample piece of content, and Madison, I'll have you maybe say a few words about this. But one advice that we typically have is, if you design your content for global audiences first, it often works for local ones. If you do the opposite, it doesn't always carry the same weight. So Madison, do you want to just say anything about this sample piece here?
Sure. So this campaign was an organic campaign, meaning it went on our main VEDP LinkedIn for everyone to see. So we did have to keep that in mind, like Steve said. And the third slide with the map of the United States is a great example because domestically, we like to say that Virginia is a strategic mid-Atlantic location, but if you're not familiar with the US geography, that probably doesn't mean much to you. So we had to zoom out and broaden our message, look at it from a high level and say, here's where we are located in the United States, and what does that mean to any company,
Yep.
regardless of location.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. Thank you for that. So yeah, the key message here, start with that global understanding, then work backward. It's a lot easier than starting with the local one and working forward. And that's not to diminish the importance of local stakeholders and communicating with them. It's just in terms of, again, scaling the message. We have tight resources. It's very hard to have the time and attention to detail for all those audiences. So if you start global and work backwards, it just tends to be a little bit easier to make that message work for everybody. All right, number 3 in our framework is all about regulation. So here, the topics that we often take for granted, the things that sometimes just are second nature to us, we don't even think about. If you remember that curse of knowledge, it's really about communicating what these companies need to know about when they are relocating to your region in a talent attraction context. What do people need to know? We see a lot of work programs, work in wherever programs for talent attraction. They're run by people that have, they're from somewhere else, because it helps to have that perspective of having cross borders, for example. There are a lot of key questions that are very simple, very straightforward, and sometimes we forget to include them as a part of the message and address those because they just become everyday to us, and it's not on our radar. So some key topics to address here: national policy along with local policy. A lot of times we see places, talking about, you might see a county in the US or a state in Germany, for example. They're talking about, local policies, but not necessarily always national ones. You can be the resource that people rely on to understand what that national policy is like, which really just passes credibility along to you. Immigration procedures, particularly in the U.S., immigration is handled so much differently than other parts of the world, and we don't see a lot of EDOs always understanding this or including this information on their website. In Europe, it's a lot more common because you have tighter borders or closer borders, I suppose, and that cross-border experience is a little bit more natural in those situations. But thinking about how are we explaining immigration to the companies or to the talent that we're working with. Tax laws and incentives. This is for companies, certainly, but even on the talent side, people understanding what it's like as an expat for taxes. Is there double taxation? Is there a special rate for expats? Labor laws, really important for particularly companies to understand as they differ quite a bit in different jurisdictions. And then demographics, another one, really, really important here. So just making sure these are some of these key topics that you're prepared to address, if not upfront, certainly at some point if somebody has a question about it. And why is that important? Anticipating needs and providing insight are the surest signs of credibility. If your organization can be the one that's expert on this, you automatically gain credibility, and you become, in that sales discussion, et cetera, you become a part of that that decision team, because you are providing the information that they need. You're anticipating those needs at the end of the day. All right, moving on. Providing an overview of the region. So a lot of these are related. You've probably seen, the audit unearths a lot of these potential areas. That's the first step. But then the rest of these are just, let's go through and systematically start looking at what can we improve. And so this goes beyond broadening the message. This is really, at the end of the day, answering the basic questions. And this sounds so simple and so straightforward, but you'd be shocked at how many times people are not answering these basic questions. And so what do we mean by where, what, why, when, who, and how? We mean the following. Where in the world are you? Again, maps, but also putting it into the context. Madison had a great comment about, mid-Atlantic location. Where is that for international audiences? So, maps are really your best tool here. And use them often, I would say, not on your homepage, but also when you're talking about transportation and infrastructure and so forth. Those circle charts with how far places are away from each other, really great tools. What does your region stand for? So again, being very clear about what. If you're a baseball fan, I know Anita, who works with Madison and leads the marketing team, she has a great comment that she heard from a site selector one time. What's your fastball? So if you're not familiar with baseball, it's basically what is your key message, your unique selling proposition that you should be known for, and putting that out there for people to understand. Why should someone consider you? Again, your value propositions. When do things need to happen? So having a checklist, anticipating, usually this is about 6 months to getting permits, or, being aware of those timelines. You don't always have to market those up front, but certainly have those questions answered in the background. Who are you as an organization? So this is very deliberate to the question that was earlier. Tell about your place first, but eventually be prepared to say how you can help and where, what services you provide as an organization, and yes, how you can help as well. So there's the full list. Madison, we pulled together as a part of the campaign a landing page. This is not everything on the landing page, but it's a good chunk of what is on there. Hopefully everyone can see this. It's a bit small on my screen, and probably yours as well, Madison. But do you want to say any comments about the process we went through of pulling this landing page together, and maybe what you were thinking about as part of that?
Sure. So we decided to create a landing page because on social media, you can get away with being more broad. You're just creating awareness. But we wanted to drive people to a singular place where they can learn more and hopefully convert to a lead. So we wanted to be a little bit more detailed there with specific information, the who, what, where, when, and why. Um, and then we also added a contact form so that those contacts were going straight to the FDI team. We could segment them, target them, and then also follow up with them well after Select USA.
Yep. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, and so just last comment on this, I guess, is to just don't assume. There's a great line out of a sitcom that is, "Don't assume, it makes a fool out of everyone." And so just make sure you're putting the basic information out there, and organizing it in that structured way, and similar to a landing page that makes it easy for people to get what they need and then reach out if they need to the appropriate people. Next in the framework, so this is the second A of abroad, and this is analytics and privacy. So real quick here, data policy is not just a GDPR requirement. It is a trust signal in some parts of the world. And frankly, I would say this is your default, is you want that trust signal. Not everybody sees it that way. For example, privacy around the world. Americans see it as very annoying. Europeans see privacy policy as, trustworthy. And I think you would put Canada probably more in this category as well. Many locations in Asia, they're asking, is it helping me or slowing me down? And it's a very pragmatic, practical question for them. And so this influences how people interact with your content. Are they trusting you right away? Also, there is a more practical side to this. Data comes through. If someone is opting out of privacy, they are not as trackable. Your audience sizes for something like a retargeting campaign are much, much smaller. So in Europe, for example, a lot of audiences that you would normally be able to retarget on a LinkedIn or a Facebook or whatever, they're much smaller. And that affects your ability to reach them, and may take that channel off the table compared to or at least that sub campaign of your overall campaign. It may take it off the table. And so just be aware of how this influences it, how it influences your overall strategy. You definitely want that trust signal, but at the end of the day, also there's a very real side of this, in that it impacts the channels that are available to you, and considering that is really important, so that you're not wasting money at the end of the day. All right, last, demonstrated success. We're almost right on time here. So this is all about case studies. Social proof is your location's greatest marketing tool. And so how do you create a great case study? This is one of those pain points, or I think everyone's looking for, how do we create a better case study? So we have some guidance on that. What makes a great case study? Representative of your target market. So try to find a company that is, a lot of people like Google or Microsoft or IBM, or these big Siemens, these huge companies. The thing is, they're in almost every location. So they're not necessarily making your story unique, but is there is there a company that's 200 to 500 employees and has a really good story about why they relocated to your market? That is representative of your target market, and probably holds more weight than those big names do sometimes. Insight and story about why they chose the location. That is really great, and is missing from a lot of case studies that we see, is that true insight. It's usually a press release quote from the company, and so try to avoid that. Try to get that insight. Anything that is first, most, latest, largest, the most innovative operation in Amazon's suite of facilities, or this is the first center of excellence for Siemens in this new market, in Canada. Whatever the case may be, first, most, latest, and largest are always great distinctions to carry some weight as a part of this. Speed to market or problem solving. This is where you can start to integrate some of your organizational message as well. So think about that also. You want to sell the place, but where your organization can add value in helping you to remove barriers so that you get to your end goal a little bit faster. That is a great story as well. And then, always thinking about the transformation that happens. I think this is almost the most important thing. What does that transformation look like? How is that company better 5 years down the road from locating in your region than they were beforehand? If you can really grasp what that looks like in a special, unique way, that is really, really powerful. And so Virginia does a great job of these success stories. A lot of video as a part of it, but some great quotes as well. Madison, love to share a little bit, or love to have you share a little bit about how your team pulls these case studies, these testimonials together, and makes it a part of your ongoing operation.
Sure. So I think this goes back to ask someone on the outside for help. We have like an ecosystem building team or project managers who have worked closely with these companies and can make that connection. So then the ask of the company is you want to showcase your shared success. So you'll want to emphasize the mutual benefits like brand exposure, thought leadership, and credibility. And a lot of the times they are more than willing to do a case study because it's free publicity for them. So, how we go about choosing is, like you said, more, largest,
Hmm.
biggest. That's a good framework.
Hmm. Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, this is a challenge for a lot of organizations. The more you can make it a part of your delivery of service to the companies and say, hey, we're going to help you get local publicity as well through these case studies. That is really helpful to incorporate that and make it part of the muscle memory of working a project. Um, and just a reminder here, there's a great book, if you haven't read it, it's called Build Your Own Story Brand. And the key premise of that book is you are not the hero, your client is the hero. The places that we represent, they are the guide. They are the guide that is helping to help that company, that hero, get to the other side of this transformation. And your role as the place is to show them the vision. So build your own story brand. I highly recommend it. It's a great way to restructure how you talk about your own role in a success story, and really put that corporation, or in the case of talent attraction as well, those individuals who are making those cross-border relocations, put them first and foremost and showcase their story. So happy to take any questions. If you have any, feel free to throw them in the chat or the Q&A. Here's the quick summary of the Abroad framework. I will say one last important piece of this is a lot of organizations will look at FDI as a bit of a separate focus area or a separate um, specialty. It is not at all. It is very much a part of your core operation. And so the more you can integrate your international teams, your international campaigns, yes, you have to perhaps have a separate German campaign versus an American campaign or a Canadian campaign. Even within Canada, there's a couple different languages to consider, of course. So there's that executionary stuff, but from a strategic level, making sure you're involving your international teams as a part of your operations. Madison, this is something you've talked about a couple times with Antia, really making her and inviting her perspective as a part of what you guys are doing. So it's not just international versus domestic, but how can we think about this at a greater level? Any last comments on that?
Um, she was very happy to be involved. And even beyond this campaign, we keep in touch to talk about key learnings and what she should be posting on LinkedIn. So I think not only is it important to bring them on early, but also keep them involved throughout the entire process.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent. Yeah, we do have a question here. So for colder reach outs abroad, doing so in their given language is the best place to start. Um, yeah, I mean, there are some exceptions to this. Certainly, I think it helps if you have that capability to be able to reach out in their language. That is always demonstrating that you understand them. And that you have the capabilities to work a project perhaps in that language. There are exceptions, for example, I mean, I operate in the Netherlands. It's fine to reach out in English. Germany, it's often fine to reach out in English. If people are internationally oriented, um, uh, if they are interested in doing business abroad, they are probably going to speak English on some level. So I think that's fine. But the more you can, even a greeting in their language or a sign off in their language is really great. So certainly keep that in mind. Um, So yeah, great question there. I'll just say, if you are interested in a digital marketing audit, we do have 25% off, and we're more than happy to sign up or contact me after this, steve.duncan at c-studios.com. And so feel free to reach out to us. We are offering a discount on these. And then I'll just, last quick reminder, we have a couple more. This is part of a larger winter webinar series. Our next two are on global talent. So what talent wants, we are releasing that in the next couple weeks, and we'll be doing a webinar on that in mid-October. So if you go to that QR code, you'll get to the sign up for that. And then we are also doing a webinar in November on AI's impact on place marketing. So if you'd like to be part of that, again, the QR code will take you to the sign up there. We have a couple more, one in December, one in January, but watch our social media if you'd like, and you'll be able to find out where those sign up pages are. So with that, thank you, Madison. Really appreciate your insight and help in terms of walking through this framework with us. And for everyone else, thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. And if you want the recording, it will be sent to you, and we'll make sure you get a copy of that. Thank you all.